St. Francis of Assisi, I know the date that he died. He died in 1224 or 1225. I don't know the date when he was born, but if you want to picture the area where he was born, it's an area similar to Toscana, the land of the beautiful sceneries, the land of the beautiful music, Toscana. No, he was not born in Toscana. He was born in a region north of Toscana called the Umbria, the Italian Umbria, which is as beautiful, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say better, it's as beautiful as the Toscana region. He was born from a rich family. Mother was French, and she was from France, and maybe that influenced her to name her only son Francis, similar to France. She was from Provence in France. The father was a merchant. He imported silks from the long walk from China through Asia and the silk route that brought the silk. And what he did to the silk and to the tissues that he bought was color them. He had a printing shop of coloring clothing. He was wealthy, very wealthy. And when Assisi was having a war against Perugia, the army of Assisi was not a very big army. Assisi was a small town. Perugia was a very wealthy town, and Perugia had a lot of men in the army. Francis wanted honor. He went into the army. He never had a sword in his hand. And he thought that he will become famous as he fought the Perugians. Well, the issue was that when Francis went to war against Perugia, and the sword was bought by Daddy, and the clothing of soldiers was bought by Daddy, who had the money. He was an only child. So anything his son wanted, anything mother wanted to give her son, she would give it to him. There was nothing lacking in the life of that young man. Nothing. He went to war with the Assisi army against Perugia. And the army of Perugia destroyed the army coming from Assisi. There were bitter enemies, those two cities at that time. Francis went to jail. And in jail he discovered how empty is fame and reputation. He was there in jail. And after being certain months in jail, his father, who was wealthy, and probably the pockets were sounding with coins, gave some coins to the Perugians to free his son Francis. Francis, who was having an internal reformation inside and was looking at the beauty of nature, the beauty of the Umbria Italiana, he discovered God. And he discovered God in a very particular fashion. One day he was praying at a small, destroyed and broken church in the middle of the fields. And there was a wooden crucifix hanging there. There was no roof in that little chapel. There was no windows in that little chapel. And Francis was praying to find the meaning of life. The meaning of life. And then he heard inside a voice that said, "Francis, Francis," the voice said, "Francis, Francis, renew my church that is in ruins." Maybe we could say the same thing right now to God. God, renew your church that it seems to be in ruins now, and we need to rebuild it. Francis began to live a life of prayer and dedication to God. He began to dress in a very simple manner and began to live in the fields. He was at the beginning of his transformation. He went into the pocket of Piero, his father, and took all the coins out from Piero Bernardone, his father, and gave it to the poor. He gave clothing to the poor of Assisi. And one day his father was so angry at him that he got him through an ear, brought him to the central square of Assisi, and knocked at the door of the bishop. "Open the door, Your Excellency. Here's my son. He's giving all my riches away." And Francis said, "We're not to live for those riches. We have to be detached. We have to be detached of everything." And then Francis took everything that he was wearing in front of the bishop. He stayed naked in front of the bishop. And he gave all his clothing to his father. "Pietro Bernardone, I am your son, but first of all, I am the Son of God. Here is what you have given me." And he was naked in front of the whole town. He was naked in front of the bishop. He was naked in front of his father and his mother, who was crying there in the main square of Assisi. He gave everything away. Nothing will tie him down to the earth. When I moved to Belen, over here, I was put to shame. I don't care if I say the name. I was put to shame by Monsignor, what's the name of the rector of the seminary here now? Navarro. I was ashamed in front of Navarro. You know what Navarro told me when I was gathering everything to come over here? Monsignor Navarro told me, "Father Eddie, I got 2 suitcases. And I put the important things in the suitcase, and I went to the seminary, only with 2 suitcases. And I told the new pastor of St. John Newman, whatever I leave here, sell it. Sell it. I don't want to do anything with it. Sell it." That put me to shame, because I tried to bring everything from Jesu to Belen. If you go to My room over here at Belen, it looks like a gallery of paintings and of pictures and of things. He put me to shame. I only took 2 suitcases to my new job. The rest I told the new pastor of St. John Newman, sell everything that I leave behind. St. Francis of Assisi wanted to show everybody that things are transitory. They come and go. We came naked to this earth, and we will go naked to the next life. St. Francis was alone, and companions came to him. Young men who were in the army with him came to him and wanted to live a life of poverty and prayer and detachment as he was living. And St. Francis saw beauty in everything, in all creation. One day, he told Brother Leo, his biggest friend among the group, Leo, cut the grass. Cut the grass here at the Church of the Porciuncula. Cut the grass. But that part over there, that part, leave it like that. And Leo said, but it's a very ugly part. It's a very ugly part that needs trimming. It needs to be clean. No, Leo. No, Leo. In that part of the grass, everybody should see God, even if it is as ugly as you say it is. Leave it as it is. Francis saw God in every part of nature. I hope one day, instead of looking at YouTube and the trash that YouTube brings, I hope that instead of looking at Netflix and all the trash that Netflix brings, you look at a movie called Brother Sun, Sister Moon. It's a beautiful film about St. Francis of Assisi. I hope you take your time and watch that film. It's a beautiful film, and it tells you the core of who St. Francis was. Another story which can be applied to us, yes, who can be applied to us. But Father, the stories that you're talking about a man who lived in the 13th century. We're living in the 21st century. Yeah, but many of the stories apply to us too. One day he told Brother Leo, Brother Leo, put your sandals on. We're gonna go to Assisi. They were living in the valley down there where the Porciuncula is. We're gonna preach a sermon to Assisi. Put your sandals on and bring your cape with you. The two of them went up to the city of Assisi. They walked around the city. They walked around the place. They walked around the place. And Brother Francis said to Brother Leo, Brother Leo, we have finished. Let's go back to the Porciuncula down there. And Brother Leo said, but we haven't spoken anything. But we haven't said anything. And Francis said, yeah, but with our example was the best preaching that we did when we walked around Assisi. Give a good example. Give a good example to others. Francis had a group, and they went walking to the Pope, who at the time was Urban the Seventh, I think so. Urban the Seventh, and he presented himself in front of them. Of course, the cardinal said, "Get out of here! Get out of here! You beggars! Get out of here! The Pope doesn't want to see all of you dressed that way. Get out of here!" The Pope had a dream that night. And in the dream, the Pope saw a beggar fixing the church. Fixing the church. And then the Pope said, "Bring me that group that you mentioned yesterday. That group of beggars, bring them to me. Bring them to me. I want to see them. I want to look at them." And Francis came into the Pope's palace and had an audience with the Pope. The Pope was so impressed that he blessed the community of the Franciscans. He blessed them. Or the cardinals were looking around. "What are you doing, Your Holiness? What are you doing?" And the Pope answered in Latin the phrase, "Deus Domini est hic." The finger of God is here among them. I'm going to bless them. I'm going to write a charter so that they can become a religious community.